everyone, this is Indy, and here we are in Mists of Pandaria beta. I got my invite today. I was just checking my BattleNet, and there it was. So I copied my character over to the PTR server, and the first thing you notice when you log in, other than the fact that add-ons are completely disabled, which sucks, is that your specs are completely wiped, of course, because there is a new system. Now, I will say that I am locked into disc and disc as far as primary specializations. Visiting my trainer did not actually wipe the primary specializations, but it did wipe the talents. So I'm not sure if this is a bug or what right now, but it's a good thing we're only really concerned with the changes to discipline at this point in time. I'll discuss Holy and Shadow at a later time once I research those a bit more. But for now, I just want to kind of go over Disc and what I've learned in doing my first dungeons and kind of playing around with the new spells. So first, when you choose your primary specializations, Holy, Shadow, or Disc, you're going to see the spells that become available to you for choosing this specialization, and then the levels that become available. So in Discipline, you're going to see Penance become available at level 10, Divine Aegis becomes available at level 24, Spirit Shell is a new spell and that becomes available at level 28. We'll talk a little bit more about that in just a few minutes. Greater Heal is available at level 34, level 36 gives you Inner Focus, Evangelism is at level 44, level 45 gives you Grace, 46, Prayer of Healing, 58, Pain Suppression, level 70, Power Word Barrier, one of our most coveted cooldowns, still there, thank goodness. Train of Thought, level 78, back to level 22, I don't know what's down there, sorry I skipped it. Purify, now you're going to notice, I'll talk about this again in a few minutes, there is Purify and there's Dispel Magic. This obviously, as soon as it becomes available, will be your go-to Dispel. And level 56, Shield Discipline, your mastery, becomes available. Okay, so let's move forward into talents. Now, I did wipe my talent points because I wanted to kind of go through these with you guys. As you can see, everything looks a lot different. No more talent trees, no more talent points for the most part. It says you have 5 unspent talents. So basically at these level ranges, 15, 30, 45, 60, 75, 90, you'll get to choose one of 3 options. I am not a fan of this, but we have to work with what we get. So let's start here at level 15. Now, the first thing you'll notice about this category is that there are no spells available that will complement any healing spec. Void Tendrils summons shadowy tendrils out of the ground, rooting all targets within 8 yards for 20 seconds. Really nothing to benefit a healer. Psy Fiend summons a Psy Fiend standing in place for 10 seconds. He casts a Psychic Terror on a nearby enemy within 20 yards every 1.5 seconds. This can be a nightmare if you're grouped and trying to crowd control or not pull ads. Dominate Mind is your mind control, which really does nothing for a healer either. So, really stuck between 3 spells that I don't even want. So let's just say, okay, Void Tendrils. If I'm out solo questing, whatever, I guess that could help. So down to the level 30 range, you get the options of Body and Soul, which before the expansion was a Holy Priest only talent. When you cast Power Word Shield or Leap of Faith, it increases the target's movement speed by 60%, and this formerly was Holy only, and it was beneficial in certain circumstances during raiding if a tank was kiting, and so now we get the option to use it on a talent choice. Path of the Devout increases movement speed while levitating and for 30 seconds afterward by 25%. Yeah, don't really see the point in this one. Maybe if you're PvP spec'd and you want to use that, but then why wouldn't you go with Body and Soul? Go for a 60% movement increase. So moving along, Phantasm says that when you fade, you remove all movement impairing effects from yourself, becoming untargetable by ranged attacks, and your movement speed is unhindered for 3 seconds. Basically, your choice as a healer in this category is most likely going to be Body and Soul. Moving down to the next category, you'll see the middle option is coming soon, so right now, for the time being, we have 2 options. From Darkness Comes Light, formerly Surge of Light, and you'll see that that is still an option up the top. That basically gives you a 15% chance to get a free flash heal. The Surge of Darkness would be the shadow option of the Surge of Light talent, giving you a 20% chance when you deal damage with Vampiric Touch to give you a free Mind Spike. Obviously, we're not going to choose that one. I wasn't a fan of Surge of Light to begin with in the current expansion. So moving along, obviously we're going to be taking Archangel, and that is a talent that consumes your evangelism, increasing your healing done, and it's also on a 30-second cooldown, so it's obviously pretty useful. Okay, so moving on to the level 60 talents, Desperate Prayer obviously is the former Holy Tree Priest Oh Shit button, basically healing the caster for 30% of their total health. Void Shift is a new one. This was formerly down further in this tree, from what I remember. And this is an interesting spell. I did play around with this in a dungeon group, and I did find it useful on a couple occasions. Basically, the priest swaps health percentage with the current friendly target, and then heals the lower health target by 25%. Now, this is interesting in that it swaps health percentage. So it's not actual HP, it's health percentage. If I'm down to 1% health and I feel like trolling a tank, I could essentially trade health with them. What we're supposed to do with that spell, much like Life Grip, is use it for good and not evil. That is completely up to the priest, but I see this spell as both a very helpful tool, and also if you decide to LFR or LFG and have a little fun with people, that's also an option too. So obviously we're going to choose this one, but first, moving over to Angelic Bulwark. It's anytime a damaging attack brings you below 30% health, it gives you an absorption shield equal to 20% of your total health lasting for until cancelled. Basically, and it cannot occur more than once every 90 seconds. I don't really see it as something that merits skipping a useful talent like Void Shift, so we're going to pick Void Shift. In the level 75 range, we get our choices of Twist of Fate, increases damage and healing done to targets at or below 20% health by 15%. This is another interesting one that could be very useful. Keeping that in mind, PI, as you know, infuses the target with power, increases your casting speed, and reduces mana cost of your spells for 15 seconds. Divine Insight is basically the former Holy Priest talent Serendipity. Basically, when you heal with Binding or Flash heals, it reduces the cast time of your next greater heal or POH, and it stacks up to 2 times. And now it gives the option for Shadow Priest to have something called Shadow of Death. When your Mind Blast deals damage, there's a 40% chance your next Shadow or Death will treat the target as if it were below 20% health. I really don't see anything special about those, so for now I'm going to go with PI. In the level 90 bracket, we cannot access these yet, but I will show you what there is in store, at least at this time. A talent called Cascade launches a holy bolt at the target that grows in power as it travels, causes up to 39 to 64 damage to an enemy or up to the same amount in healing to an ally. This effect can bounce from allies to other allies or from enemies to other enemies. Each time it bounces, it will split into 2 bolts, preferring farther away targets and never hitting the same target twice. Cascade can bounce up to 4 times. This looks to me like it's going to turn out to be a pretty interesting, smart AoE heal, if you will. Maybe like a Prayer of Mending on steroids. Because we can't access it yet, obviously I can't play around with it, but that looks like it's going to be pretty interesting. Also in the middle, Divine Star fires a Divine Star in front of you, traveling 20 yards, causing 7,630 damage to all enemies and 7,631 healing to all allies in its path. Now, after reaching its destination, it will return to you, also dealing damage to and healing all targets in its path. So it's kind of like a healing slash DPS boomerang, if you will. Obviously not as powerful as Cascade. Interesting though. The third option is Halo. This is on a 1-minute cooldown, and it creates a ring of holy energy around you, quickly expanding and growing in power up to 30 yards away. Now this deals up to 76,307 holy damage to enemies, and up to 76,307 healing to all allies, with the greatest effect at 25 yards. This to me could be a very interesting and powerful AoE heal that is on only a 1-minute cooldown, something else to definitely keep our eyes on. So I will be anxious to kind of try out these spells at level 90, but for now, we're just going to learn these talents. Now let's quickly move on to Glyphs. The most noticeable thing you'll see when you look at this is, oh my god, there's like only 2 rows of Glyphs for a total of 6. Basically, you're going to get 3 majors and 3 minors, and that's pretty much it. Now, going through the major glyphs for priests, you'll notice that atonement is no longer a talent, it is a glyph. So basically, a disc priest is no longer the only priest that can use atonement. Yeah. Kind of disappointed about that, but, you know, it is what it is. So we're going to go ahead and take Atonement. Now moving down, there are still the glyphs of Circle of Healing, Desperation, Dispel Magic. Moving past the glyphs are for the most part the same. You'll notice that the glyph of Holy Fire is going to make your Holy Fire spell now an instant. That's pretty interesting. Let's put that up there for now. Because the glyph of Smite is still in here. And that is going to be the same. It inflicts an additional 20% damage against targets afflicted by Holy Fire, which in turn makes your atonement heals 20% more effective. Now let's go back up to where we left off. Inner Sanctum was formerly a talent, and it reduces spell damage taken when you're in Inner Fire, and movement speed bonus of Inner Will is increased by 6%. Like I said, this is formerly a talent that I used to take, and I used to like it, but now that we're faced with the choice of using it as a glyph, I may or may not use this on certain fights depending on the situation. Glyph of Leap of Faith. Interesting. Your Leap of Faith also now clears all movement and impairing effects from your target. I don't really see much use for this if you are going to be life gripping a tank who's getting stunned or slowed. I don't know, maybe. For now, I'm going to skip that. Moving down, the Glyph of Penance now says it reduces the mana cost of Penance, but increases the cooldown. Now, the former Glyph of Penance would decrease the cooldown, which may or may not have been useful depending on your healing assignment. This particular glyph now, I don't really see much use for it, even as a disc priest, because the whole purpose of Penance was if you're tank healing, you obviously want it off of cooldown as much as possible, so why would you want to increase the cooldown for a small mana reduction? I don't know. You still have your Glyph of Power Word Shield. You have the Glyph of Palm, which is essentially the same, healing the additional target, heals the first charge for an additional 60%, but your palm has 1 fewer charge. So Purify, you're going to look at as your new Dispel. I said I would talk a little bit about this because you're going to notice that it's got the Dispel icon, but it's called Purify. That's basically going to be for your friendly targets. You'll notice that Dispel Magic now has a different icon, and it says it dispels magic on the enemy target. So Dispel Magic is no longer for your friendly targets. That would now be called purify. So this glyph is essentially the same. It's going to instantly heal your target for 3% maximum health. And it also dispels disease. Renew is still there. Smite, like I said, is still there. Strength of Soul, formerly a talent, is now a glyph. So we're going to keep the glyphs that we have in there because I like having my little atonement build in there for main spec. Minor glyphs, your choices are slim. I'm going to stick with what I always have. Fortitude, Levitate, and Shadow Fiend. Now, as you guys will notice, one thing when I open the character window is there is there's a slot missing here. What's missing? I don't know. Wands? Yes, they took our wands away, and initially I was kind of confused because I still had one in my bag, and when I tried to equip it, it put it in my main slot. So apparently wands are going to still be in the game, but if you choose to use one, it's going to be a main hand weapon. Also, with our stats, our primary stats, intellect, you'll notice my mana pool's actually gone down since I came over from Cataclysm. How could that be? Well, because your mana pool is going to scale with your level now. That's a little disappointing as well, but you know, like I said, for the time being, that is what it is. Anything can change between now and the release date, but for now, that's basically what we're getting. So let's talk about this new spell, Spirit Shell. It creates an absorption shield on the target for 18,015 damage, lasting 8 seconds. Sounds pretty good. When the shield expires, the target is healed for 80% of the remaining amount. Okay, that doesn't sound too bad. Let's target ourselves and go ahead and cast this. Oh, wait, I said cast. Yeah, folks, it's not like a power word shield. Wait, okay, hold on 1 second. Power word shield has a 6-second cooldown now? Yep. So right now our power word shield can only be cast once every 6 seconds. Our days of shield spamming, whether we like them or not, are over. So one last thing I'll note is that as our buffs change, we only have to now cast Power Word Fortitude. We can be that much lazier. Long gone are the days when we would have to cast Fort, Spirit, and Shadow Protection. There is no more Shadow Protection, so we are now down to 1 buff for it. Hopefully people still want us in their raids. Well, folks, that about wraps up the discussion on changes to Disc Priest talents, glyphs, and spells. Stay tuned for the next episode. I'm going to actually go through a dungeon here in a few minutes, hopefully, and just kind of heal it as I would normally, just going over some of the changes to what we would normally go through as disc spell rotations. So hope to see you next time. Hope you enjoyed this video. Thanks for watching, guys. This is Indy with TGN. See you next time. This video has been part of the Way movement, a career path in video. To learn more, visit tgn.tv.